Sarah Rector. Is she present?
I'm here. The state gave me that property on account of my ancestors. It's funny. When the land had only weeds and lizards, it was all mine. But when people found out there was oil on it, they started thinking it's theirs. All I'm asking is to keep what's mine. What was given fair and square.
I'll give you 20 bucks an acre. The whole shebang. What is that? 3,200 cash.
You sent a man to steal my deed and kill my dog. I ain't selling.
In 1907, the Rector family received land as descendants of the Creek freedmen. By 1913, 11-year-old Sarah Rector was set to claim her share, land everyone believed was worthless. Even her father urged her to sell, but Sarah refused. Then one day, she heard it, the ground humming, oil swirling beneath the earth like a rushing river. And she knew exactly what it meant. Later, Sarah reads aloud about Oklahoma's oil boom, hyping her family like they're one lucky breakaway from striking it rich. She's certain there's oil on her land, but her parents aren't convinced, until Sarah calmly tells them God gave her ears to hear oil.
You can hear it. Waves and waves of it. There's oceans down there.
It's the wind howling and the earth creaking and grinding. Ain't nothing to it.
God gave me ears to hear it, Mama.
Well, I like that a whole lot better than all that I, mine talk we've been hearing.
He gave me that land for a reason, right?
Soon after, Sarah and her father, Joe Rector, head into the boomtown of Muskogee, searching for anyone willing to drill. Their first stop is Condor Oil, where a racist man takes one look at them and dismisses them immediately. Sarah notices how few black folk are around, but her father tells her to keep her head up anyway, then immediately has to take his own advice when he's kicked out of yet another establishment. Moments later, Sarah spots Pan Oklahoma Oil. Joe heads inside, where he's instantly mistaken for the janitor and decides to play along if it gets him what he came for. Outside, Sarah steps into the Busy Bee Cafe, and every white patron freezes, staring her down. The waitress quickly hits her with the whites only rule. Sarah even offers to pay, but the lady still refuses. That's when a man named Bert Smith calls out the nonsense and puts a lemonade on his tab. After Sarah finishes drinking, she turns to thank Bert, who's busy circling names in the newspaper, when the waitress steps in again and forcibly kicks her out.
Why you gotta be so mean?
Back at Pan, Oklahoma, Joe finally meets Big Jim Devnon, a company partner. Joe admits he's not the janitor. He's here to ask if they'll drill for oil on his daughter's land. Right then, Sarah bursts in with a man chasing after her, but Big Jim waves him off. Then Sarah steps forward and introduces herself. She tells him she owns 160 acres on the Cimarron Bend, and there's oil on it. But Big Jim isn't convinced. He pulls out a map, and without hesitation, Sarah pins her exact plot. Big Jim can't deny she knows what she's talking about and agrees to survey the land. Soon after, Big Jim arrives with his crew. As they survey the property, they whisper there might be oil here, especially since another company struck oil just 5 miles away. Big Jim walks over to Sarah and lays out the reality.
Definitely gonna be a long shot drilling out here for sure.
Looking for oil anywhere's a long shot.
Yeah. Well, Panogee's gonna have to shell out all the money for everything, from the crew to the rig. We get the roughnecks to erect the derrick, then spud in, drill deep, and deeper yet. Hundreds of feet down the earth. Oh, it's a mighty undertaking, mighty. It could take months, little girl.
However, Sarah calmly reminds him that he has to lease the land first. Big Jim offers a 6-month lease at 50 cents per acre.
$1 standard.
Well, how about 75 cents per?
$1 an acre. 6 months. What about the royalty?
You know about the royalties too, do you?
The Osage are getting 1/8.
Okay, little lady, here it is. Final offer, $1 an acre, 6-month lease, and I'll give you 8 points if there's a gusher.
I want to read it first.
Sure, little girl, you go ahead. You read your contract.
Soon, Panoke starts drilling. A towering derrick rises beside a boiler and calf wheel. Sarah is mesmerized by the machinery, but what weighs on her most is whether they'll find enough oil to cover the $30 property tax to keep the land. But 3 months later, the answer came. Big Jim tells Sarah and her father the drilling came up dry. No oil. He says they can have the land back. When Sarah asks about the equipment, Jim shrugs. It would cost more to haul it away, so they can keep that too. That day, Sarah learned a hard lesson. Land is one thing, but oil is another. It's hard to find, hard to drill, and even harder to hold on to. She thinks the dream is over, until a car pulls up in front of the Rector cabin. A man steps forward and offers to buy all 160 acres of Sarah's land.
What you want it for, mister?
How about we discuss this man to man?
Go on round back, Sarah.
It's my land.
Once Sarah leaves, the man asks whether Joe has the deed, saying he needs to make sure everything looks good. He then offers $2 per acre, but Joe pushes back, saying the county office told him it's worth $3, maybe $3.25.
Going cagey on me? It's one thing I cannot stomach, even on a Sunday. It's a cagey coon.
Ignoring the fool, Joe says it's his daughter's land, so he has to at least turn a profit, then turns to leave. That's when the racist jumps the offer to $6 per acre, his final offer, shocking Joe. He reaches out to shake on it, but Joe says he needs to talk to his daughter first. The man leaves, as Sarah watches from behind. Later, Sarah's mother, Rosie, worries they may have just turned down a small fortune. Sarah suspects the man was sent by Pan Okie to buy the land. That's when Joe reveals he tried selling Sarah's land himself days earlier, but the land office refused. Rosie finally sees the truth. What they really want is the deed to the land. That night, the family buries the deed where no one can find it. Just as they finish, headlights appear in the distance, so they kill the lights and hide in the bushes. Two armed men force their way into the cabin, tearing it apart as they search for the deed. The family dog, Blue, bolts toward the goons, with Sarah chasing after it. Then a gunshot cracks through the night, stopping Sarah in her tracks. The men quickly leave, while Sarah hides beneath the cabin. After they're gone, Sarah enters and sees a blood stain on the floor with Blue nowhere to be found. Rosie believes he went somewhere to die. Meanwhile, the two goons report back to Big Jim Devnan. He's furious. Not only did they fail, but they also killed the family's dog. Now, the Rectors understand just how valuable that deed really is. Back at the cabin, Sarah grabs a shovel to get rid of the deed, but her parents stop her, reminding Sarah of what she once said, that God gave her that land for a reason.
So why give back what was given?
Still shaken, Sarah searches for Blue the next morning, only to find a blood-stained rope on the ground. She keeps going and wanders into an oil camp.
What are you doing here, little sister?
Looking for my dog. Somebody shot her and she dragged off by herself.
Ain't that like a mutt?
As she keeps on walking, she spots a familiar face, the man who bought her lemonade at the Busy Bee Cafe, Bertrand Byron Smith. He doesn't recognize her at first, until she mentions the lemonade and the names he was circling in the newspaper.
You got that right wrong, senorita. That's Bert, minding the obituaries for rich widows. Hey.
When Sarah asks if he's with the oil outfit, he says he's a wildcatter, chasing wells with the confidence he'll strike it rich like King Midas.
I am a finder. I'm a getter. A wildcatter, investor, speculator, businessman of free enterprise, and soon to be rich as King Midas himself.
That's when Sarah tells him about her land, how Pan Oklahoma drilled, came up dry, and walked away, only to send a man right after offering $6 an acre to buy it back.
Mister, there's a treasure trove of oil in there, and I'm looking for a partner to help me pluck it out.
Well, good luck with that, honeybee. But you best be flying on home now.
Dismissed and treated like a child, Sarah snaps that his attitude isn't funny, especially after her dog was just killed, then turns and walks away. Before she can get far, Bert catches up and apologizes for hurting her feelings and for what happened to her dog. He asks how she got the land, and Sarah explains it was granted to her by federal decree.
Give me 160 acres off the Cimarron Bend. It's bursting with so much oil, Okie tried to swindle me out of it. True as a razor.
True as a razor, huh?
When Bert admits he doesn't have the equipment to drill, Sarah reveals Pan Okie left all of theirs behind. With that, they strike a partnership, along with his partner Mace, and seal it with a Texas handshake.
Need to work out our terms. I was thinking 50-50.
I was thinking the exact same thing, so we should have our lawyers meet. A Texas handshake. There ain't nothing more binding.
We're in Oklahoma.
It goes double for Okies.
Here we go. Now lead the way, young lady.
The moment Bert steps onto the site, he feels it. There's oil here.
I mean, look at that, Mace. It's like Aphrodite's bosom just bursting out of Mother Earth's courses.
You're going to hear things you've never heard before me, Sarita.
That's right.
With her parents' blessing, they restart drilling at the very spot Pan Oklahoma abandoned, already more than 1,000 feet deep, pushing even farther. And since Pan Okie walked away, Sarah gives the rig a new name, Sarah's Oil. Later, Bert tells the Rectors about life as a boom chaser, how he once made 70 grand on a single well, then lost it all on the next dry hole. When Joe asks if they'll find anything here, Bert says there's oil for sure. They're just praying for a mother pool, one that can pump thousands of barrels a day for years. The conversation dies as cars roll in. Mace moves first, grabbing the guns and handing one to Joe. Big Jim Devnon steps out and orders them off his land, but Sarah snaps back it's her land and reminds him he walked away and left the equipment, telling her she could use it. Big Jim then pulls out the contract and claims the mineral rights are still his for the next few months. Sarah looks it over and spots the foul play immediately. She calls him out for changing the contract date, cheating like a kid in school. Jim still insists the claim is his until Bert pulls a gun and orders him to leave. Switching gears, he tells the Rectors that Bert is a grifter, a man who cons women out of their money, then turns to Sarah and offers $20 an acre.
What is that? 3,200 cash.
You sent a man to steal my deed and kill my dog. I ain't selling.
Realizing there's no deal to be made, Big Jim finally leaves. Bert knows one thing for sure. If they want this land that badly, there's motherlode oil beneath it, and Pan-Oki won't let it go without a fight. As drilling continues, the rig suddenly starts shaking violently. Bert rushes in, calling Mace over, and they scramble to shut it down before it blows. After checking the damage, Mace reveals the pipe is stuck. Bert explains that when equipment jams that far down, it can ruin the well. Most times, you have to abandon it. Mace suggests using dynamite to blast it free, but Bert refuses to risk collapsing the entire rig. That's when Sarah calls them quitters, saying that's why they always come up empty. They give up too easily. Mace suggests another option, a wall hook, a thin pipe dropped inside the larger one, twisted to free what's stuck. Bert warns the tool is hard to find, and the extra equipment won't come cheap. Even so, Sarah points out they already have something valuable here, and that sparks an idea. They take a mud sample to a geologist for analysis. Bert pays, and the geologist says it'll take hours before ushering them outside to wait. While they wait, a woman approaches Bert. He doesn't recognize her at first. She quickly reminds him he once claimed to know her late husband, who planned to buy oil leases in her name.
It was all applesauce, wasn't it?
Bert smooth talks his way through it, promising he'll come by soon. After the lady leaves, Bert hangs his head, embarrassed, and suggests they go check the results. Inside, the geologist says the sample looks promising, but it's heavily tainted with salt water. Worse, they'd have to drill thousands of feet deeper to reach oil, and extracting it would cost more than it's worth. With a smug smirk, he tells them to give up and move on. Bert walks a heartbroken Sarah outside and waits for a while. Soon after, the geologist steps out with the sample in hand. Bert stops him, suspecting he's taking it to Pan, Oklahoma. When Bert threatens him, the man cracks, admitting Pan, Oklahoma pays him. He reveals the oil is better than he claimed, but if he tells any more, Big Jim will kill him. Bert snatches the sample back and gets Sarah out of town, heading for another geologist who'll test it honestly. On the drive, Bert refers to the next town as a town, then immediately stops himself, apologizing, saying his tongue runs faster than his brain.
That kind of talk's automatic with some people.
I know, but that ain't me. And I'm sorry.
I thought you were better than that. I thought my color didn't matter.
It don't. Please forgive me.
Sarah says that's what's written in the good book, and Bert quickly agrees. But when she presses him on where it's said, he can only mumble.
A lot of places is out at that lake, the mount where Jesus was at, doing all them fishing and loaving and all that stuff.
After giving him a hard time, Sarah admits she used to go to church until she caught oil fever. As they arrive in town, Sarah recognizes the place. It's her hometown, Taft. Finding the geologist is easy. He recognizes Sarah immediately and seems surprised Bert has been wildcatting her field. When he hears her parents are Joe and Rosie Rector, his surprise turns to genuine respect. Bert then asks about his credentials. The geologist admits he never went to a fancy school or earned a fancy diploma, but after decades studying soil, he knows everything a professor does. He charges $5 for the test and tells them to walk around town. They refuse. After what happened last time, they're not leaving that door. Not long after, the geologist buzzes with excitement.
I can give you the technicals like the college boys, the chemical breakdowns and all, if that's what you want.
No, just give us the meat. What do we got?
It's your field, Sarah. What's your preference?
Meat's good, please.
All right.
He reveals it's the finest oil sample he's ever handled. Once separated from the sand, the crude is so pure, its density borders on unreal. Then he drops the bomb. Sarah may be sitting on one of the richest oil pools in Oklahoma, trainloads of crude buried and waiting. The next day, Bert tells Mace he's worried Pan, Oklahoma already knows about the oil and the jammed well. Mace suggests drilling a new one, but Bert shuts it down. No other well will match this one, he says. When Mace points out they can't exactly rob a bank for equipment, Bert gets an idea. At lunch, Bert meets with a bank manager and offers the oil sample and core report as collateral. The manager is impressed until he learns the well isn't Bert's, but belongs to the colored girl playing outside. When Bert explains he needs the loan for a wall hook, the manager refuses, saying a clogged well is too much risk. Afterward, Bert wanders the streets with Sarah frustrated. She tells him they should think and pray. That's when Bert gets another idea. He invites an unsuspecting widow to the Busy Bee Cafe. Moments later, they step outside, and he kisses her hand like a perfect gentleman. Moments later, Sarah spots Bert heading back inside the cafe with a second woman, the widow from before. Sarah steps in and introduces herself as Bert's business partner. The same racist waitress from earlier starts making a scene, but Bert shuts her down fast. Sarah tells the widow they're stuck with a jinxed oil well and need $2,000 to fix it. Then she mentions the other widow she saw Bert with and warns that if they don't get the money soon, he might just run back to her.
What kind of proposition were you explaining to this fine lady in Muskogee?
My God, she talks like you.
Darndest thing, ain't it?
Meanwhile, the racist waitress tries to get the town marshal kick Sarah out. It's wild to think this is the kind of behavior people actually use to get away with. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Across the table, Bert sputters, scrambling to save the moment, but it doesn't matter. The deal goes through. Soon after, Bert buys the equipment they need, along with dynamite. When the dealer spots Sarah outside and sneers, he's about to make a racist remark, until Bert drops him with a punch before he can finish. On the ride home, Bert assures Sarah he's nothing like that man, but she tells him she already knows. When they arrive, Sarah's parents are waiting outside, with the town marshal and a woman he doesn't recognize. Bert asks what all the fuss is about, but Rosie immediately pulls Sarah aside as she steps down from the wagon. Then, the marshal delivers the news. 2 Creek Nation children were murdered in their sleep, all because there was oil on their land. After the marshal and the woman leave, Rosie tells Bert the murdered children were Sarah's classmates. She asks if her daughter will be safe, but Bert admits he doesn't know. Rosie immediately turns on him, accusing him of bringing this danger into their lives, and demands he make sure nothing, absolutely nothing happens to her precious daughter. The next day on the field, Mace and Bert clash over how Bert got the money, conning widows. But Bert insists he only did what he had to do.
We needed money, and I got that money. You're welcome, partner. Now let's get this wall hook working so that engine starts purring, and then you can start yelling at me again when we're covered in oil.
We all right?
We're fine. Fine. It's like an old married couple. You started it.
Soon after, they rig the wall hook and fire the engine back up. It runs for a while, then jams again, even with the tool. Moments later, Bert spots Big Jim rolling in with his men. He tells Mace to re-rig the belt so it looks like everything's working. No guns this time. Big Jim brought too many people. Bert tells Sarah to stay in the back while he handles it. Then Big Jim's lawyer steps forward, handing him papers meant for Sarah. The lawyer claims Pan, Oklahoma bought the surrounding land and will start drilling immediately. They're also filing to reclaim all Pan Okie equipment and any profits tied to it. On top of that, they're moving to seize Sarah's land, citing the sublease she signed before unlawfully kicking them off the land.
Oh, an 11-year-old girl booted you out of here. That must be so embarrassing.
After Bert hands the papers to Sarah, the lawyer asks to speak with him privately. As he steers him toward Big Jim's car, he warns this could be tied up in court for years. Right on cue, Big Jim tells Bert to get in, but when he refuses, his men swarm him, beating him down as Sarah screams, until Bert finally agrees to climb into the car. Inside the Tesla, Big Jim yaps about the beautiful business of oil. Local judges, he adds, are tired of dealing with uneducated underage ex-slaves and are now demanding guardians, white guardians. Then comes the offer. All they need is the deed, and Sarah's signature appointing Bert as her guardian. Bert looks at Sarah for a long, heavy moment, then caves, demanding 15 points on all proceeds. Big Jim laughs, says they're cut from the same cloth, and counters with 12.5. Afterward, Bert walks back to the Rectors and suggests they head home and take a rifle. Panicked, Rosie says she won't let her daughter end up dead. If Pan Okie wants the land, they can have it.
No, Mama! You're smiling. We ain't giving in to thieves.
Once they're gone, Bert fills Mace in on the offer, including the white guardianship. He says Rosie wants out, the well is spiked, and the smartest play is to let the big dogs drill a new well and split the profits. However, Mace pushes back. He's grown fond of Sarah, and they can't just steal her land. Meanwhile, the Rectors arrive home to find Blue waiting on the porch. That night, Rosie asks Sarah what she would have given to get her dog back, and Sarah says anything. Rosie takes it as a sign that everything will turn out right. The next morning, Bert arrives with papers for Sarah to sign. After reading them, Sarah says the document makes him the boss of her life. Bert explains that's what a white guardian is, someone who smooths her affairs. When Rosie asks if they aren't her guardians, Bert says they are, and they aren't.
There's 2 kinds of law in Oklahoma. One for whites and one for us.
Yeah, it's true. And it ain't right. But Pan Okie, they're gonna act on that. Devnan told me as much. So I need you to trust me. I need you to trust a man who knows the system. A man who knows how to work the system.
Sarah asks Bert if this is to protect her, and Bert says yes. That's exactly what he intends to do. With this, Sarah signs the contract, officially making Bert her legal guardian. He says the court will hold a hearing to confirm everything, and they'll all have to attend. Sarah then asks for a Texas handshake to seal his intentions, and they shake. Later, Joe worries Bert won't act in Sarah's best interest, a man with no roots, always chasing riches. Sarah insists a handshake means something, but Joe isn't convinced. Rosie says that they don't truly know what's in that man's heart, but whatever happens, they'll walk into that courtroom with their heads held high. They may have the money and the titles, but the Rectors have dignity. Joe then reminds Sarah she may have to speak before the judge. When Sarah admits she doesn't know what she'll say, Rosie tells her God will give her the words. By the time of the hearing, white guardianship has become a controversial topic. Guardians are openly stealing their trustees' land and cutting deals with major oil companies. Word spreads about the treasure buried beneath Sarah's property, drawing crowds from everywhere, and newspapers from across the country to cover the case. As Sarah steps into the courtroom, a woman named Kate Barnard immediately offers herself as guardian, citing the murders of the 2 Creek children and the long history of grifter guardians robbing underage heirs. But the judge shuts her down instantly. When Sarah steps forward, the judge asks if she signed Bert's guardianship papers, and she confirms it.
Do you agree to Mr. Smith acting on your behalf in all financial and legal matters?
He's a good man. But why can't my parents do it? Oh, they're colored, and colored folks can't be trusted with money, ain't that right? The state gave me that property on account of my ancestors. I knew in my soul there was oil on it. My folks believed me, and so did Mr. Smith, even though Panoki said it was dry. It's funny, when the land had only weeds and lizards, it was all mine. But when people found out there was oil on it, they started thinking it's theirs, and I have to get a white guardian. All I'm asking is to keep what's mine, what was given fair and square. Isn't that what the law is for? To tell right from wrong?
The judge then asks whether her parents told her what to say. Sarah glances back at them, then answers honestly.
The truth.
The black crowd behind her murmurs in support. In the end, the judge rules that guardianship will remain with Bert Smith and adjourns the hearing. As Sarah walks out, eyes follow her everywhere. Upstairs, the black audience begins to sing as they file out, while Bert sits there, lost in thought. After court, Mace asks Bert what he'll do next, whether he plans to strike a deal with Big Jim. However, Bert waves it off, saying other oil companies will want in too. He then walks over to the Rectors, now standing with Kate Barnard. Joe asks Bert to give Kate copies of all the paperwork so they can keep track of everything going forward. Soon after, Bert runs into Big Jim and his lawyer. They invite him inside to talk, but Bert cuts straight to the point, laying out his terms, 15 points, plus every surrounding parcel, or no deal. When Big Jim reminds him he's guardian over Sarah's land only, Bert counters that her land holds the purest crude, unlike everything around it. As Bert turns to walk away, the men cave and say they're interested. But before sealing anything, Bert adds one final condition. Sarah's safety must be guaranteed. When Sarah sees Bert heading into the building with Big Jim and his men, she rushes over demanding answers. Bert tries to explain, saying he has a plan, that the oil business is full of devious people. The game is rigged, and the only way to survive is to rig it back.
They got whales all around your property, Sarah. They're stealing oil right out from under us.
We were partners, friends, a team.
You'll get your share.
That's not what it's about.
Well, then what is it about?
Your soul, Mr. Bert Smith.
My what?
Your soul.
Afterward, Sarah walks away while Bert goes inside with Panoki. After dropping off the Rectors, Mace tells Joe he spotted something out back and wants to check it. Joe offers to come along, but Mace waves him off, saying it's probably nothing. As Mace heads back, he spots a wagon hidden behind a tree, with 2 Panoki goons inside. Once the men realize they've been seen, they step out. Mace turns his car around, grabs his rifle, and orders them to leave the family alone. But the thugs just laugh. Outnumbered, Mace is gunned down instantly. The echo of the shots carries across the land, drawing the Rector's attention. Joe and Rosie don't hesitate. They tell their children to run south toward the Creek Nation stream, promising they'll find them. At the front of the cabin, the goons pound on the door, demanding to know where Sarah is. But Joe answers with a gunshot, sending them scrambling. Soon after, Bert crosses paths with those same men as he heads toward the cabin. He then spots Kate riding with a man from the Negro Press, also bound for the same place, and asks to ride along. By nightfall, Sarah and her brother reach the south stream. At the Rector's cabin, Joe and Rosie meet the group outside, with a rifle in hand. Bert asks where Sarah and Mace are and why Joe is armed. They explain that Panoki thugs attacked, and they were forced to fire back. When Kate asks about Sarah, they say the children were sent into Creek territory for safety. When Bert asks about Mace, Joe only shakes his head. That's when Bert starts calling out his name. Not long after, they find Mace's body in the woods. Bert collapses, breaking down and blaming himself, knowing Mace died because of his association with him. When Kate warns that Sarah is next, Bert insists Panoki already got what they wanted. They could have killed them anytime.
Not until she signed. If she died before, then the rights returned to the state. But after, they maintain legal claim to the land based on what you signed over.
Still, why kill her?
So I, or someone like me, can't come charging back into court. They outfoxed you. They don't need her, and they don't need you.
Realizing he was played, Bert suggests going back to the judge to make Kate Sarah's new guardian, but Kate says they'll need Sarah's signature. They have to find her before Panoki does. Meanwhile, Sarah and her brother spend the night by the South Stream, scared, thirsty, waiting for their parents. Elsewhere, the Panoki goons drive into Creek Nation searching for her. When they find nothing, they move on. Back at the stream, Sarah waits and prays for help until she spots a wagon approaching. Armed men step out. She tells her brother to run just as the goons open fire. As they close in, Creek police suddenly ride up on horseback and arrest them. Moments later, the Rectors arrive, finding Sarah and her brother and pulling them into a tight embrace.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry for everything.
Soon after, Kate presents the guardianship papers to the judge, requesting a re-examination. She submits coverage from the Negro press, along with newspapers from all across the country.
America is watching, Judge. Her life remains in danger. This cannot be delayed.
The judge notes he already approved the guardianship, unless there's an error or ambiguity. Kate points out that Bert is listed as being from Oklahoma, when he's actually from Texas. The judge immediately nullifies the contract. He then asks Sarah how she'd feel about Kate becoming her legal guardian, and Sarah agrees. After she leaves, the judge warns Kate and Bert that he'll notify Panoki of the change, but doubts they'll comply. He tells them to prepare for an attempt to physically seize the property. Once the judge is gone, Kate insists the Rectors need the best attorneys money can buy, but Bert knows lawyers won't stop Panoki. They'll come by force. That night, everyone on Sarah's side gathers on her land, bracing for what's coming. When Rosie asks about the dynamite, Bert reveals they buried the explosives 1,000 feet underground.
So either that well's gonna cave in on itself, or it's gonna bring forth everything we've been hoping for. Either way, Devnan and his men cross the line, and that's the best chance we got.
The next day, as expected, Big Jim arrives with his men, a white flag mounted on his car, claiming he only wants to talk. Bert signals to let him through, then calls Sarah to his side. As Big Jim approaches, Sarah, her brother, and her mother retreat into the cabin. Big Jim claims a legal right of entry, citing papers signed by the land's guardian. But Kate immediately shuts him down, reminding him those papers were nullified by the judge, and he knows it. Undeterred, Big Jim asks if they really want a war, then signals his men to turn the wagon around, revealing a machine gun, and everyone dives for cover. That's when Bert rushes into the cabin, ready to set off the dynamite, but Sarah steps forward and insists on doing it herself. The well is hers after all. She prays for God to guide her hands so no one gets hurt, then pushes on the trigger. The ground shudders violently, then goes still. A beat later, the pressure gauge spikes, and oil erupts from the well, blasting skyward and raining down. Sarah runs toward it as Big Jim shouts that the gusher is his.
That's my oil!
No, it ain't!
Oh, the girl.
No! Devnan, I would not do that if I was you. See, you took the liberty of wiring up your wells too, just in case you wanted to do something foolish.
Sarah then orders Big Jim to leave her land. Instead, he tries to shoot her, but Joe fires first, blasting the gun clean from Jim's hand. Creek police rush in and take him into custody. With the fight over, Sarah and Bert share a smile as she runs toward the gusher, oil pouring down from above. Another car pulls in, and everyone stops to stare at the towering eruption. Soon, people arrive from all over, celebrating on Sarah's land. Rosie congratulates Bert, saying his wildcatting days are finally over. But Bert only shakes his head. His side deals with the widows have caught up to him. He tells Rosie her children are lucky to have her, then turns and walks away. Sarah sees Bert leaving and runs after him. He tells her he has debts to settle. When Sarah offers to help, he refuses. He won't take her money. Instead, he thanks her, saying no treasure compares to what she taught him or how she cared for his soul. Following this, Sarah breaks down and hugs him.
Please don't go, Bert. Please.
Hey, me, I'm a finder, a getter, a wildcatter, investor, speculator.
Businessman of free enterprise. And soon to be rich as King Midas himself.
True as a razor, that is.
After Bert leaves, Sarah never sees him again. Years later, she'll come to understand his true treasure was never gold, oil, or silver, but the search itself and the adventure waiting just beyond the horizon. Later, Sarah strikes a massive deal with John D. Rockefeller, selling land in the Cushing Drumright Pool for millions plus royalties. She later moves to Kansas City and hosts major cultural events with legends like Duke Ellington and Count Basie. But the very first thing Sarah does with her fortune, at just 11 years old, is buy the Busy Bee Cafe and open it to everyone.
As my mama said, God gave you gifts. The only sin is not to use them.
This is easily one of the best dramas I've seen this year. Naya Desir-Johnson's remarkable portrayal of Sarah Rector earned her a Rising Star Award for a reason, and the fact that it's based on true events gives the story even more weight. Drop the movie you want me to recap next in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.